Hi, today we're going to learn 10 simple steps to writing professional emails that make a positive impression. Do people respond to your emails in the way you want them to? Or do they seem to ignore them or miss important information? And are you sure that you're making the best possible impression with your emails? When you compose an email message, there are some simple rules that you can follow to ensure that your emails make a positive impression and get you the response you want. In today's session, we're going to learn how to write a proper email by following 10 simple steps. Let's get started. Step 1. Do have an informative subject line. Email subject lines are like newspaper headlines. Therefore, you should be as specific as possible. One-word subjects such as hi, question, or FYI are not informative and don't give the reader an idea of how important your message is. If your message is time sensitive, you might want to include a date in your subject line. For example, marketing meeting scheduled for Thursday, December 2nd. A good and informative subject line is about 5 words, but no more than 7. Number 2. Do write separate emails or separate paragraphs for multiple topics you need to address. Miscommunication can occur if an email is disorganized or just too long and complex for readers to easily follow. Here are 3 easy steps to create clear and organized emails. First, briefly state your purpose for writing the email in the very beginning of your message. Second, use paragraphs to separate thoughts, or consider writing separate emails if you have many unrelated points or questions. After each paragraph, add a line of white space by clicking Enter twice to visually separate paragraphs into separate blocks of text. And third, use bullets to note important details so that they are easy to pick out. 3. Do write with a proper tone. Tone is a difficult thing to explain. It's easy to change your tone when you're speaking. However, when you're writing, it's very hard to do it. Your email tone should come across as respectful, friendly, and approachable, not curt or demanding. Here are a few tips to ensure you write with a proper tone. First, you should always avoid language that could be perceived as blaming. Instead of saying, "You didn't post my exam score," think about writing, "I'm having trouble locating my exam score." Do you see the difference? Second, if you're writing to someone you've communicated with before, you might want to begin by saying, "I hope you are well." I hope you are well. This starts the email off right, demonstrating concern for your email recipient. And third, while some people regard email as a rapid and informal form of communication, others view email as simply a more convenient way to transmit a formal letter. Such people may consider an informal email rude or unprofessional. Fourth, do provide context when asking or responding to questions. It's important that you add context to your email content when asking or responding to questions. Why is that? Because not doing so can lead to reader confusion. Here are 2 good tips to add context to your emails. First, if you're asking a question, cut and paste or type any relevant text into the email so that the reader has some frame of reference for your question. Second, when replying to someone else's questions, it can often be helpful to either include or restate the sender's message. It's not a good idea to simply respond with a one-word answer such as yes or no. Additionally, if the questions are too complicated to answer by email, then request a face-to-face meeting or phone call with the sender. 5. Do not attach unnecessary files. You should send attachments only when absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it demonstrates a lack of courtesy to those you are emailing. When sending attachments, you need to consider the following issues. First, know your receiver and consider whether it is okay to send a file. Then, if you must send a file, only attach files in a format that you know the other side has the software to view. 6. Don't use bold, red text, or caps. Generally, bold, red text and caps should be avoided. The reader may be unable to accurately detect which parts of the message are especially important, and thus may be confused as to what you and what him or her to do with your email. You should only use boldface type or capital letters to highlight critical information, such as due dates. In summary, it is better to simply avoid using bold, caps, or red text rather than to risk the negative consequences. 7. Do not overuse the high priority and reply all features. There are two features in an email in particular, the high priority and the reply all features, that you should use sparingly and only when necessary. If you overuse the high priority option, it will lose its function when you really need it. Meaning, if you flag many of your emails as high priority, your readers will come to believe that that's just how you write emails, and not all of them are truly priorities. So before you flag an email as high priority, ask yourself, is this truly urgent, or do I just prefer a quick response? Now let's discuss the reply all feature. When you reply all, it should be because every single person who received the email needs your reply. This will eliminate receiving excessive, unnecessary email to filter through. In most cases, replying to the sender alone is most appropriate. When you're in doubt as to whether or not to use the high priority or reply all function, your best option is to not use them at all. 8. Do use blind carbon copy, or BCC, when sending an email to many recipients who don't know each other. Blind copying emails to a group of people can be useful when you don't want everyone on the list to have each other's email addresses. The only recipient address that will be visible to all recipients is the one in the To field. You should use BCC when sending an email to many recipients who don't know each other, such as with mass distribution emails. Here's what you should do if you don't want any of the recipients to see the email addresses in the list. First, put your own address in the To field. Then put everyone else's address in the BCC field. 9. Don't carbon copy or CC to eTat. E-titling is the act of intentionally copying several people on an email that should be meant for the recipient alone in order to point out a mistake or wrongdoing. In business correspondence, the people copied are usually managers, supervisors, or clients. In an academic setting, the people copied are usually teammates and professors. This approach will most likely cause problems with ongoing relationships, teamwork efforts, cause embarrassment, and hurt feelings. E-titling will do nothing but reflect negatively upon you and your ability to communicate in a professional manner. So how do you handle e-titling at work? If you do not get the response you desire, then pick up the phone first or meet personally with the individual involved to resolve the issue. 10. Do not use email for sensitive or confidential matters. You should know that email is never private. An email, including those claiming to be private, is often compared to a postcard in that anyone who comes in contact with it can read it. It's important to keep in mind that your message could be forwarded on to other people without your knowledge. A backup copy of your email is always stored on a server where it can be easily retrieved by interested parties, even when you have deleted the message and think it is gone forever. Instead of putting sensitive information into an email, it is better to make contact either by phone or in person regarding your confidential matter. And don't forget to include a respectful greeting or salutation such as Dear Jones, Hi Ms. Smith, or Hello all. A closing statement such as thank you or sincerely. A detailed email signature to include first and last name, title, company name, email address, and phone number. And use proper spelling and grammar. No text message abbreviations such as LOL or U, and don't use emoticons. and use a professional email address, and usually it's some combination of your first and last name. We hope you have learned that writing proper emails is an important and necessary skill to learn. The consequences of writing poorly written emails are always the same. A poorly written email leaves an equally poor impression.